This is episode 85 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 85 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have another great episode for you. I feature Taylor Seers on this episode, and she is one of the two parts of the power couple that is TJ Real Estate Investing. So if you remember back to episode 78, I had Jeremy Ivany on. Well, now I'm having his partner Taylor on the show, and she works a lot of the back end of their business. She's highly involved in making sure that all the parts work and that their property management operation works as they've grown from 0 to over 30 doors in just 14 months. So originally Taylor was not interested in real estate investing. She wasn't thinking about going down that road, but after a trip to the OREC conference in London with Jeremy, they decided that they were going to pull the trigger and go full steam ahead. So Jeremy handles much of the operations. Obviously, if you haven't checked out that episode, please do after you check out this one. Of course, Taylor is handling a lot of the admin, a lot of the operational to make sure that things continue to operate smoothly. So it was a really interesting conversation. Taylor has a psychology background, so she really focuses on relationships and conflict mitigation and those elements of how you can property manage in a tertiary market like Chatham, Ontario, where you might have a little bit of a rougher tenant base and you have to have better processes to make sure that you're getting the best tenant possible so that your operation can survive in the long run and, of course, allow you to be prosperous. So Taylor and Jeremy are nothing short of inspiring, and I was honored to have both of them on this show. As always, I'd like to ask you to please make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform you listen on, and please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you're listening on if possible. It just helps more people to find this, and it helps the podcast to grow. Without further ado, here is episode 85 with Taylor Seers. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Taylor Seers on the show. Taylor, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
For those who have already listened to or watched episode 78, Taylor and Jeremy work together with TJ. Is it TJ Investments?
TJ okay. Real Estate.
TJ Real Estate. So power couple that flip a lot of properties. Well, not flip, they're doing a lot of BRRRR properties. So Taylor, why don't you just tell, because a lot of people won't have listened to that one. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you do?
So basically, to give the rundown of Jeremy's podcast, we own 11 properties right now, mainly in Chatham, other than our personal one, which is a house hack. We started June last year, and we've kind of just, I guess, slowly but fastly kept acquiring properties. We got our first 7 kind of through BRRRRs, different strategies, and now we're kind of focusing on joint ventures and kind of growing it more as a business and not just a hobby.
Yeah, well, I can hardly describe 11 properties in, 14 months? That's hardly a hobby. Yeah, that's pretty aggressive growth. So you guys have done really, really well. Like most people are just blown away when I tell that story. I'm like, oh, you should listen to Jeremy's episode. They bought 11 in 14 months. So what do you attribute that to? Like, I mean, most people can't grow that fast. They can't think that big. What do you attribute that to?
I think having 2 people, like having a couple both on the same page definitely helps, where if you have one person doing everything, it's a lot more overwhelming. And probably like dividing and conquering. Jeremy and I both have different roles kind of in the real estate game. And I think having 2 separate roles and 2 people working on one thing together and cohesively probably allows us to keep growing a lot faster, with making it less stressful versus one person doing everything by themselves. Right.
And I think for me, my personal experience, like when you work with somebody who's on a similar wavelength but does different part of the process, like you just push each other, right? Like, one of you's and they maybe not in the aggressive want to grow mood, but the other one is, and you kind of bring each other onto each other's page. So yeah. That's a helpful part. What part are you tackling?
So I'm more behind the scenes. Jeremy is a lot, like, I guess currently for like attracting joint ventures and stuff, Jeremy is more on social media in that sense, and more because he's like working on renovations and has a lot of like interesting things to share. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Jeremy's more renovations on like in Chatham Monday to Friday. I'm working full-time, so I'm more behind the scenes, I guess like helping with accounting. We have our software Billium, so like assigning tasks, kind of like more of the manager role, I guess. So like we hired a property manager kind of in-house, like he's working as a contractor for us. So before I took over working full-time, I hired him to help us and kind of help Jeremy. So kind of, I guess, just managing Jeremy, I guess, in a sense, and then just behind the scenes.
Property managers managing Jeremy, not managing tenants?
No, I'm managing Jeremy. The property manager is helping Jeremy assist things.
Oh, okay. So tenant stuff, are you typically handling calls with tenants, things like that? Or is that Jeremy?
We both kind of share the calls and communicate. It's nice on Buildium. So preferably our tenants message on Buildium and both Jeremy and I can see it. And whoever it makes the most sense for, like if it's something that needs to be taken care of immediately at that time, then Jeremy can handle it. If it's a call, then I can make it. And then also like we have our new property manager on there, so he can also kind of do tasks and handle things like that.
Is he handy? Like he can actually go out and fix stuff, or he's just assigning?
He's more of assigning, delegating, and helping with leasing, and basically to keep Jeremy at a renovation instead of having to go and like do random things at different properties. That's what our property manager will be doing.
Full time?
No, not full time.
No, he's part time.
Yeah, just basically whenever we need him. He also works part time for another building, so he's flexible and just does whatever.
Oh, okay. So he's sort of like a building super somewhere else, and then helping you out as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's super handy. And you're able to get this person on an hourly basis?
Yep.
That's great. Yeah, because once you start paying half a month's rent every time they lease a unit, it gets a little bit expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to Buildium, so I use Pendo, which I think is similar. I don't know if it can take requests. I've never used it like that, but it has a lot of property management features. Who told you to use this?
Actually, Mike and Michelle, they invest in Chatham, and that's the software they use. I had some demos with there's a ton of different softwares. I had demos with different ones, and basically Buildium had the best customer service and demo. And then we had a recommendation. So that's kind of the direction we went.
And what do you pay for that?
It's kind of expensive. I think we pay like $70 a month, and then it keeps going up. So after like so many units, it gets more expensive. But the amount of time we save and like the how much our communication has increased using an app, it's totally worth it.
So it goes to your phone?
Yeah.
So for instance, like give me some examples of how that's useful. I'm just genuinely curious, and I'm sure many people are. How is that useful to you on a day-to-day basis?
So like anytime a tenant has a maintenance request, or even like a silly, easy one. So yesterday, for an example, a good tenant who can be kind of needy, but he really takes care of his place. So we do a lot of things for him. He requested grass seed because the grass is kind of patchy. And he made a maintenance request in Buildium, and then both Jeremy and I get it. And then we can choose if we want to like make it a high, low, medium priority, if we want to do something about it, if we want to close it, if we want to assign it to somebody else. So instead of like a tenant just emailing one of us, we both are on the same page, and we can just delegate it to somebody else or choose what we want to do. Same with messages. If I message a tenant, Jeremy can also like hop in as a three-way or however many people you want, and we both can read the same messages and respond to the same ones.
Okay, so so the main benefit is just when things go wrong, making sure that it's organized and gets delegated properly. It doesn't get overlooked or missed.
Exactly.
Okay, how many doors are you guys working with right now?
I think we're 27.
27 doors. So that's 27. Well, actually, probably some of them have multiple tenants. So you're like 30, 35 tenants right now, right?
Yeah.
It's a good number of people that could ask things of you.
Yeah.
But most of your properties are updated, right?
Probably about like 50% of the units are updated. Not like sometimes we'll have one unit updated and not the other. So the updated ones are a lot easier.
Okay. So I imagine a lot of the calls you're getting are like the ones that you haven't renovated yet. This is leaking or this is happening. Yeah. It never fails on my properties. It's like the ones that I didn't renovate are just the biggest headache. Like I've had so many roof leaks, and this thing goes wrong, or I'm trying to think. I had a problem that happened over like 2 years that we could never figure out. This shower was leaking into the floor below, and we'd send somebody in. I'd pay like thousands of dollars to have it looked at. It happened again. I think I finally got it, but yeah, there's something to be said about renovating your own house and knowing that it was done right and done the way you want it.
100%.
What do you do full time?
I'm a DSW, a developmental support worker.
Developmental support worker.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
I was doing it. So I was at Western at a high school for 4 years for psych. And then this last year I was at Fanshawe for social services. So I've been working just part-time as a DSW throughout. And then now I have a full-time position, but basically I was more leaning for social work, but for mortgage qualifications, staying at my current job and having a full-time position is kind of best suited for real estate purposes.
Oh yeah. Having that. But okay. So I know I talked to Jeremy about this. You guys bought pretty well everything together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than separating it. Okay. So you still got a few more though, because I'm assuming with your joint ventures, you're not on title in any way.
Correct.
Right. So you could probably pick up another, I don't know, 3 relatively easily. And then you'll have to start taking lower loan to value, shorter amortizations.
Exactly. And we have some refinances that we want to get done and try to max ourselves out first.
So why take on the joint venture partners already? Like, what was the incentive to do that rather than keep doing what you were doing? Because you guys did 7 properties from what I remember from Jeremy's interview, where you just refied, took the money, did it again. Why JV? What initiated that thought process?
I think probably the partner kind of came first. Like, we met somebody that we really got along with, that was really had the same sort of values as us and interests. And we were like, oh, we should do something together. And at that same time, not qualifying, but Jeremy would go back to school for his electrical apprenticeship, and then would be on EI, or would get laid off. His job was not secure, or he would show up as candidate EI, which is not great for financing, obviously.
It's a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of worked out well, where we were not sure if we were going to be able to get another one in with his EI showing up. And we had a partner that we really liked and trusted. So it kind of just fell together. And then I actually did coaching with Sarah Etter. So that's kind of where it really got pushed after that. So we had a first couple JVs already set up, and then I started coaching with Sarah. And that kind of allowed us to focus our business more on joint ventures and growing that way, and kind of making it more into a business and being more organized.
Okay. So you didn't feel like it was a business before the JVs though? I mean, 7 properties is already a handful, especially in whatever it was, 9-10 months.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel after having coaching, I feel like we have more of a business that's more organized and professional. We have branding and other things other than just 2 people doing real estate and kind of going for it.
Yeah, I like your branding. Is that a corporation, TJ Properties? Am I saying this right?
Yeah, TJ Real Estate.
Sorry, I got to stop saying that. TJ Real
Estate. It's just a Ontario business right now, but we are in the process of getting the corporation set up.
So, okay. Hopefully hopefully just do it before this episode releases so that you have it.
Yeah.
You can do it on Incorp Pro online.
Yeah. We paid for the business license, so we should be okay, right?
Oh, you should be okay. Yeah. Okay. What do you want to talk about?
I think a lot of my experience probably is more been property management. So since my program kind of finished because of COVID, I was only part-time, and a lot of my job then between March and now and then full-time was property management. Really dealing with tough tenants and working. Yeah. I feel like I use a lot of, go ahead.
Chatham's its own unique animal. What's it like to manage properties in Chatham?
Yeah, we have some rough properties and some rough tenants, but I feel like a lot of my skills from school, from psych, and from social services has been helpful in communicating with tenants and not getting hurt. Some of the tenants could potentially be in a homeless shelter at one point, or could still be in a homeless shelter in the future. And that was where my placement was last year. So I think, I don't know, I feel like that was kind of a benefit, having experience in the shelter and working with people that have drug addictions and mental health, and working with their workers. So I think kind of one of the issues maybe people have is that they just automatically like don't like these people or scared of these people, have negative views of them. But if you can kind of work past your biases and communicate with them like as a person and be respectful, you can kind of find solutions and positive interactions, even though they might be destroying your house.
Well, yeah, that's got to be difficult. Like, do you have like an actual, like, give me an example of something you've had to deal with and how you've disarmed it? Because I know every city's different. They have a different tenant demographic. Obviously, Chatham's a bit rougher from what Jeremy has told us, and from your experience. So, yeah, give me an example of something you've kind of had to de-escalate, and what are the damages, and how does it turn out?
So we have a tenant he pulled a knife on another tenant in the building, was incarcerated. So while he was incarcerated, we actually found out he was incarcerated because we went to do an inspection, and his friends were living in his unit, and that's how we found out that he was in jail. And luckily, so this is a unit that like I don't feel safe going to by myself, so I brought someone with me for the inspection, and then there was all these guys in the unit. But anyways, we just like, I think people might have gone in there maybe aggressive or calling the police right away, but we kind of just like had a conversation and talked to the people, got their contact information, still did the inspection, like everything was normal. And then you can call the court. So I was calling the courthouse regularly to see if I could get updates, and the court will tell you basically everything that you want to know, like where they're incarcerated, for how long, any updates they have in the systems. So I'd regularly be calling back because they'd have a court hearing, and then they'll give you an update after the hearing. And eventually he is out. We have an eviction on him, and when he got out of jail, he called to let me know, because he didn't have a key to his unit anymore. And honestly, like just talking to somebody like a person, and being honest. So I told him that we have an eviction order, or like had the eviction started, and warned him that he should probably start looking for housing, and just being respectful and having those conversations and being honest. So you're not scared when you go there, or maybe you still are scared, but you can communicate, honestly and openly. And then you kind of have a trust, and they kind of respect you a little bit more.
Yeah. People always know when you're BSing them.
Yeah.
It's just never the right move. No. I think that it's like I look at my entire 20s as just learning to be very direct with people. Like just don't sugarcoat things. Well, I mean, be polite, but
yeah. The way you frame it.
Yeah. Frame it well, but don't sugarcoat, because at the end of the day, people smell BS, and they're just, it's not going to work. So I like that you're able to de-escalate that. Now that's definitely something, you don't want to go by yourself, and deal with some of these potentially, dangerous situations, which that could be. Yeah. But so you did that over the phone, I'm guessing?
Yeah, that conversation was on the phone.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, let's keep those calls like that. I guess like, so on the legal aspect, because I was dealing with this recently too. Like I don't get calls from tenants often, because I tell them, email, that's how we do repairs. But I got, a bunch of late night calls. Obviously I don't answer, because I tell them I won't answer at night. I'm like, call the plumber, call whoever. But they're, basically sublets from my tenants, got a disagreement. Cops were called. Somebody got arrested. To this day, I don't know what happened. We're like, we need you to change the lock. I'm like, well, if that person's a tenant, I can't lock them out of the house. Yeah. Was that this type of situation? Like it was two people in the same unit and you changed the lock?
No, for that one, we couldn't even, the police. So basically we called the police saying there's people in the unit that didn't belong there. And if the person says, I know the tenant give me permission, police can't do anything. So that's what happened. The police didn't do anything. And so I had even called the LTB to ask, and they were like, your best bet is to just start an eviction, and eventually everybody will get evicted.
So you did the N4 because no one was paying rent?
No, so they were paying rent, because they have a trustee. So rent was always being paid. It was just more the danger, property destruction, neighbors' complaints, lots of other things. Rent was always being paid.
So how did you process the eviction? What was your claim to get them out if they were paying rent?
Because they pulled the knife on the other tenant, so endangering other people. It was the N7, I believe.
N7? So obstructing others' enjoyment of the property or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and when you say the other tenant, like a tenant from a different unit in the building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a fourplex. So obviously, so that's actually one of the things too, is we have, so this tenant is still there. So this process is still going. And we have another lovely tenant who, similar situation, kind of dangerous and not happy to be there. We're not happy for them to be there, but we have a vacant unit. So one of the tenants moved out because they weren't happy with their living situation, which is totally fair. We're renovating, but we're not going to place a tenant until these guys are gone, because we want to just keep finding good tenants, and we know whoever moves in there is not going to be happy. And we don't blame them.
Well, and you might attract somebody who's willing to take a lesser quality of living if you'll say yes. You know what I mean? Like they're the less discerning. I would be with you on that, and I want the discerning renter that wants a nice place.
Exactly.
Because then they're going to treat it better. Yeah. So how do you see yourself overcoming this? Because obviously, the demographic in Chatham isn't going to change overnight.
Not overnight.
Did you inherit some of these tenants? Like these are inherited tenants that you're trying to cycle out. Yeah. Have you had problems with new ones you've placed?
Our only problems we've ever had was our very first tenants we placed. We got screwed out of 1 month's rent. They chose to leave. We did the N4, and they chose to leave. So it wasn't that bad. It could have been way worse. Everyone else since then has been really good, actually. We kind of make them run through a lot of hoops. So it's a lot of work, and most people don't even bother filling out the application. So that makes it easy. And Jeremy mentioned the last one, we've been doing Zoom calls. So now our property manager will go, and he'll do the leasing, and he'll give me feedback on the people that went, and what he thought of them. And I already have their application, so I can see their driver's license and I can see their credit score and everything. And then if he says they're good and their application looks good, then I'll set up a Zoom call and kind of do like an informal interview with them, to get to know them, to verify their application, like what they said on their application is actually true. We always ask for like a pay stub or like some sort of proof of employment, same as you would if you were getting a mortgage. So yeah, we've had good luck finding people that are good just because we make them work for it.
You're doing the questionnaire online for the initial contact, or no? Like, do you send them to a questionnaire?
It's not a questionnaire. It's our, we have an application on Buildium. You can make your own application. They fill out like a full application. So
somebody contacts you on Facebook Marketplace, you send them the application on Buildium and make them jump through the hoop.
Yeah.
That's a great way. Yeah. Just great way to just filter out the riffraff. Because those who aren't, like, I can't count how many people on Facebook say, is this available? Is this available? They just click the button. Like, they're not even like thinking, they're just tapping. Yeah. So I always respond back with a link to, if you're interested, this is the request of you. To do it again now, like, I mean, it seems like to a certain degree, the feeling surrounding COVID seems to have changed a bit, in that, people are sort of a little bit more willing to go out and like look at stuff and re-engage. So, but back when I did my last one, it was, right in the shutdown, and I was like, no, like we're going to have you fully lined up before you come see it. So it's really just a matter of, do you still want it? And all four that saw it wanted it. So I think that's the way to go, right? Like if we can carry that forward and just not have people waste our time going to see a property they're not going to take or they're not serious about, that'd be better for all of us. Yeah. And the more conversations I seem to have with really successful investors, it seems to be that they're doing things to weed people out early, so that's awesome that you're doing that. Yeah. Okay. So you get pay stubs, income letters kind of redundant. So your pay stubs. Either or. I don't trust income letters. They can be faked. You got to know what to look for. What about checking landlord references?
Yeah. So if the application looks good, after I've done the Zoom call and like can see them in person and get to know them a little bit, then I'll check references if I like them, basically. And check landlord references, verify employment. A lot of time we've had really good luck having kind of newer, younger, like couples or single people. So they don't have a lot of landlord references. They're kind of coming from home. So sometimes the reference is like their friend or like people that aren't super helpful, but even then you can still gotta feel like if their friend seems sketchy, it's probably a good indicator that this is not going to work out. So even if the reference doesn't seem like it should be helpful, it kind of talking to them makes it, you do learn a little bit more.
That's true, because if you're trusting your gut and that person seems weird, then that's good indication. Yeah, that's a great point. I typically don't call those type of references. I don't find it valid, but I may reconsider that in the future now. What was I going to ask you? Oh yeah, credit. Do you check credit?
We do, just through their own. So they'll send like the Credit Karma or Burwell or however they choose to send us their credit score through their bank. I don't, maybe people have lied to me, but I've gotten a lot of horrible scores, and like, they're being very honest. Thank you. But,
yeah. But are you just taking the score or the report?
The score, or no, not the report, just the credit score, not the report.
See, for me, like coming from the mortgage world, I want to see the report. I want to see because for instance, if they've never rented anywhere before, I'll want to see how have they paid their car, or, have they owned, if it's somebody who owned a home for a long time, were they always late on their mortgage? Did they have a bunch of late mortgage payments? Because I've heard it explained that people actually value their car, number one, because they can't get to their job without their car, their home, number two, and then everything else is after that. So they seem to prioritize things in that order. So if I can see that they're paying their mortgage and their car well, then I have a good feeling that they'll pay rent well.
Yeah.
Even if they have a terrible score, right? I don't care if their Rogers bill has gone to collections per se, if they are always paying their rent and their landlord says they pay their rent.
That's fair.
So,
yep.
Not to get off topic here.
No.
Okay. So when you grow so fast, and speaking from experience and things that I've taken on too quickly, there are always things that were unexpected that you're like kind of banging your head against the wall a little bit and rethinking. Give me an example of something that, surprised you as you grew fast that, you had to adjust to.
I think a big one would have been like before we had Buildium, that kind of really helped us with our growing pains, was just like, you get emails, you're getting text messages, calls, everything from different communication, and you kind of just get overloaded with different requests from different people. And yeah, it's just like a lot of everything happening at once. You kind of get to like your tipping point where like, I can't handle anymore, or you're like forgetting things. But switching over to Buildium kind of allowed us to like be organized. Yeah. So that was basically the big one, is just staying on top of things.
What about bookkeeping?
Yeah, bookkeeping is probably like our weakest point. Last year, so my dad is an accountant. So last year my dad did our taxes, and he was like, I'm never doing this again. So yeah, that's definitely something we still need to work on.
Yeah. If you want to unleash the growth potential, you might need to. Yeah. This is something that's difficult, because the bookkeeping part for real estate investors it's fairly intricate. Like the steps you need to do. Like I use QuickBooks Online, but I mean, I know like the average person wouldn't necessarily know what to do right away unless they had like a little bit of instruction video, which I've been working on, but that could be months and months from now. So I wish there was an easier answer for that one, but I definitely do think getting into QuickBooks, like, is that what you're using, or are you just doing like spreadsheet?
No, we were doing Buildium, or we are doing Buildium right now.
Okay, so it has bookkeeping on it.
Yeah, you just reconcile the accounts.
Oh, does it connect to your bank account? Okay, so you're already getting that. So what's the problem then? Just too many receipts?
No, too many receipts. And we use Google Drive also. So for like all of any receipt, Jeremy will upload to Google Drive so we can see it. It's more like something like we don't enjoy and we procrastinate, and it's just seems messy.
I wonder if you can get somebody that worked like just 20 hours a week for you to just come in and kind of organize all that stuff for you.
Yeah. I think that's what will happen. We'll just outsource it.
That's what I'm looking for. A mini me. I need somebody that'll just follow me around everywhere I go and do.
Maybe find one, train them, and then send it over here.
Send you one as well. See if I can find two. Yeah. Give me an example of something you guys are looking at. Like actually, before we even do that, what is it that you're trying to accomplish here? You just started a new job. Is that in the long-term plan, or are you looking to eventually phase out of that as well?
A bit of both. So I guess like long term, I think it would be interesting for me to kind of intertwine both of them. So I work in a group home, and it's through an agency, but there's a lot of private group homes. There's actually one in Mount, so we live in Mount Bridges. There's one down the street, and it's a massive house that has 14 bedrooms. So 14 people are renting, but they're also supported through like PSWs and social workers and their staff in the house. So I think long-term, it would be really cool to be able to open up a private group home and me to go in there and like get it started, have like, I guess your first one would just be like getting it figured out. And then once you have your systems in place, to keep repeating it, and kind of intertwine, like using my skills, but also keeping real estate, and keeping it as like an income stream, in both ways.
Okay. So be a little bit entrepreneurial with it, but kind of blend the two.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you guys have, I mean, on this, I know Jeremy was spelling off some very ambitious goals.
Yeah.
I think did he say 100 properties or 100 doors?
I listened to that recently and was like, wow. I don't know what he said either though.
Okay. So something around 100 doors, I think he said, which, I have, I grew bigger and then kind of sold off a bit and kind of like tried to shrink down because there is a certain balance between quality of life and growing too fast. And I know you guys have grown really fast and done an incredible job with it, which is crazy to me, how quickly you've done it, and you seem pretty comfortable with it. So that's, kudos to you. But I obviously, like, I'm a little bit more reserved about growing so quick now. Do you see yourself still pushing hard? Like, are you guys looking to double what you have? Like, I know you're at 11 houses now, which is 27 doors, as you said. Do you see that, being 50 next year, 75, or do you go all the way to 100 like Jeremy wanted?
I see. So Jeremy, after I guess the last session with Sarah, was like, get your goals organized and whatnot. So we had sat down maybe a couple of weeks ago and talked about like what we want in 5 years. And we kind of made a map of like, these are the things that we want to do in like our life, within 5 years. So how do we be able to like afford all these things? And it was not 100 doors, but it was like, getting 6 properties a year with joint ventures, doing a couple of flips, maybe wholesales. And I'm just having a few different forms of active income, but not a number set on doors, but more of, this is the amount of money we need to achieve our goals. Yeah, like,
what is it? Is it like a monthly cash flow you're trying to achieve?
It was a combination of different things, like having your active income and your passive income. And if we sold all our properties or half our properties in 5 years, would we be able to do whatever?
There's so many options, right? Like, I'm working with some coaching clients right now that, like, we're working on a strategy to sell a couple of their properties and invest that in private mortgage lending and stuff. There's ways to create cash flow because their goal is cash flow. So that's why I ask, because everybody sort of has like a different thing they're trying to accomplish. Like 100 doors, I guess if your goal is long-term wealth, then 100 doors, you're going to be able to grow. They're all going to passively appreciate. So getting your name on as much real estate as possible does make a lot of sense. Especially because you guys are so young, right? Like, if you're cool to just grind it out for the next 10 years, you can be infinitely wealthy when you retire. So obviously there's many things to consider there. So it sounds like you guys are kind of in the middle there. You got some cash flow goals, got some growth goals.
Yeah, we want to be able to like also enjoy our life and do things, have weekends off, and Are
you guys like going to travel, or you're more just talking like keeping it local?
Before COVID, we would like to travel. We had plans to go to Thailand in like October or November. Obviously, that's not happening. So for now, it's just like, we'll go camping, maybe, well, like it's almost winter now, but we did lots of camping and just like traveling Canada. We'll just probably keep it local until we can.
Nice. Okay. So give me an example of something you're looking at. Are you guys sizing up any deals right now?
So we had flyers go out. Honestly, Jeremy's been looking at, because he's in Chatham, he's been looking at a lot of the deals. So we had a lady with 3 duplexes that she's interested in selling. So I guess Jeremy's kind of been going back and forth and trying to agree on numbers. And then I guess we'll decide if basically first, if we want to JV with them. If we don't, then we'll just wholesale them to somebody else.
Okay.
I don't have the numbers on those ones right now.
Yeah. Do you have like, even just one that you've done? I know Jeremy gave me one. I think we did property number 3 that you guys bought on.
Yeah.
One. Let's do a different one.
Yeah.
Do maybe one of the recent JVs, if you know roughly where your ARV is going to be.
I have some numbers ready for you.
Oh, you came prepared. Cool.
Yeah.
I guess people got tired of me putting them on the spot, so now more people are starting to prepare.
Yeah, we know what's going on now. So this one was our first JV. It was with James. So it was a fourplex. We bought off market privately through someone in the network.
Okay.
So we bought it for $225.
$225.
We just did, so the bottom, so it's a fourplex. It's a bottom unit with 3 bedrooms, and then there's 3 1-bedrooms upstairs.
Okay, yeah.
And the bottom unit was vacant when we got it. Before we could actually finance it, we had to put some renos in because the appraisal wasn't going to go through.
Wasn't going to work, okay.
Yeah, because it was under construction. So we basically finished that, not fully, but got it livable so that we could get financing, our partner could get financing. So we spent about $10,000 before we had even purchased it.
Okay.
And then after that, so we got tenants move in. So we got this June 1st. Then July 1st, we had tenants move in. And then, so that unit was basically renovated for 15 all done. And then we did exterior work. So we had new driveway and fence, soffits, fascia, window capping, doors, lots of exterior.
Okay.
So totally we spent about 45 in renos.
Okay, so I'm just gonna add this on here. So about 45,000 in renos. Mm-hmm. For some reason, my spreadsheet is not liking me right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're in for about 270.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you initiated the refinance?
Yep. So the refi just came back. It hasn't officially gone through, but we got the appraisal back at 311.
311. Okay, so not as sweet as the other ones you guys were talking about, but that's still a good win, right? You're still above what you have into the place. Yeah. So so you're going to be looking at 80% of that.
Yep, 80% of that.
Okay, so new mortgage would be about just short of 250, so 248.8. If that was the case. So your net investment is going to be your purchase and renovation less your new mortgage of 248. So you're 270 into the property and your new mortgage is 248.8. You're 21,200 net investment. Yeah.
So we refinanced really early. We only did exterior in the 1 unit, but the other 3 units are still under rented. So at turnover, like if we turn over if 2 of those units, we may try to refi again, or if we wait a couple years and maybe get all 3, the property still has a lot more potential to increase cash flow and move over the utilities. So we're paying a majority of the utilities right now, but they're all separately metered. So we can get all those rents up and get it plus utilities.
Yeah, that's something I want to dig into now, right? Yeah, because you only renovated 1 of the units. And then obviously outside work, but there's tons of future value to unlock in that unit or that building. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the building as a whole. So current value is 311. I'm gonna put that in there. What are your rents on this building?
Currently, we're at 34.5. No, 34.50.
34.50. That's good. Okay, so that's 41,400 a year. We'll just go ahead and put like a 3% vacancy on that, or what would be?
Yeah, we do 3%.
3%. Okay. Taxes there?
I don't know off the top of my head. Taxes in Chatham are pretty cheap. Probably
ballpark.
30,000 a year. 30. Let's say 35 a year.
All right, 35 to be conservative here. Insurance on a building like that?
I think we pay like $260 a month.
It's 260 times 12. Okay, so 31.20 for insurance. That's a little pricey. Yeah, I actually really am not a fan of how expensive insurance has got over the last. It's gone up so much. Okay, what do you figure monthly for utilities? I know you haven't seen it in the winter yet, so you'll have to kind of do your best guess for an average on the year.
Let's say like 800.
800 a month?
Yeah, let's be conservative. Because we got gas, water, electricity, they're all separately metered. So you have the service fee on all of them. Obviously not water.
They don't do separate service fees on water? Yeah.
No, so we only have 1 meter for water and then everything else is separate.
Is that so you have other buildings where it's so 800, so that would be like 200 a unit in utilities?
Gas and water, or gas and electricity. Yeah, that should be lots.
Gas, electricity. That sounds maybe a little too conservative, because if we do that for a year, but you would know better than I, 9,600 a year sounds about right for that place.
Sure. We've only owned it since June. But
well, you have other fourplexes,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Are they that high? Okay, we'll leave that for now.
Less, yeah.
I think that's potentially one that you're going to end up being pleasantly surprised if that's what you're planning for. So lawn cutting, snow removal, you got that to do, I'm guessing?
Yeah, that's like $50.
$50 a month?
Let's say $100 a month.
Yeah, I usually do that, $1,200 a year. And then miscellaneous, we'll put that in there at $500. Okay, so let's see how this looks for you. It looks like even in spite of that massive utility figure, I was expecting your cash flow to be a lot lower, but because you're buying so cheap and renovating and being in for so little, you still have $1,680 a month in cash flow if you get a 2.65 interest rate.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're actually going to do better than that. Do you know what?
Yeah, our last partner just got 2.03.
So let's just say you got 2.03% on a 30-year amortization. So you're borrowing $248,800. That's going to work out to a $922 a month payment, which leaves you with $758 a month cash flow.
Yeah.
Is that fairly normal cash flow for a property for you? Like your average?
For a fourplex, like we have, because we have our one, like our newest unit that was rented as a 3-bed is rented for $1,500. So that makes a big difference. Yeah.
But generally, if you're into something that's the market says is worth $300, you're expecting to see cash flow of $700 plus a month. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the benefits of going to Chatham, more or less.
Yeah.
It's just hard to do that in London. To buy anything for under $300 in London, exactly. That's detached, let alone a fourplex, is pretty hard to do now. Okay, so when we examine this against your investment, so your investment here would be approximately, the net investment, not factoring fees, is about $21,200. That's what we calculated after your refinance. So $21,200. So your return on investment here, if we factor in the 600, so I have the calculation here. So $6,400 a month in mortgage pay down. That's based on my spreadsheet. Anyone wants it, just visit my website and it's there. You have annual appreciation. What would you figure? 3%?
We say like 2. We're very conservative because Chatham's not. Okay. It has appreciated a lot in the last 4 years, but that's not typical.
Well, and you don't want to bank on it, right? That's gravy if it happens. But yeah, 2% is like basically inflation. So yeah, if we say that. So I have $6,500 in mortgage pay down approximately. At 2%, that's about $6,200 in appreciation. And then you've got $9,100 in cash flow for a total return of $21,700. And that works out to be, when you divide it by the $21,200, you're just over 100% return on investment in 1 year.
Yeah.
Just bonkers numbers.
Yeah, has all. So this one we're actually really proud of because it's it's a beautiful, nice yellow brick building, and we just did like black soffit and fascia, black capping, and we cut down 2 trees in front. Like it has a really nice curb appeal, and obviously nice cash flow. So this is one we're really happy with.
Yeah. And so is Jeremy doing that work too? By the way, does he do the metal work on the outside of the building as well?
No,
that party hires out. So. Yeah. I think I sort of got at it. Obviously, he does a lot of the electrical. He and your guys will do the waterproofing. I saw him posting stories, so they're waterproofing the inside of their foundations. Like, you're doing heavy renovations.
Yeah.
These are not small renos, but obviously that's where you get the benefit, right? If you're planning to keep it long term. Like, do you see yourself selling any of these properties?
See, I'm like, Jeremy was like, "Oh, we'll just." So like eventually, like sometimes he'll bring it up like, "Oh, we'll sell this if we need to," or whatever. And I don't like have any intentions of selling any of our properties right now. I would prefer to just like hoard them for a while until we have some nice mortgage pay down appreciation or whatever. And maybe sell it if we have to, or if we find a better opportunity. But we've only held them for a year or less, right? So it does kind of seem silly right now.
Well, it's like, they're little forced savings accounts, right? So you're paying off your mortgage, and on this particular mortgage, if you get 2.03, that's $500 a month pay down that you're getting to start, right? And that number grows from there. So after 60 months, which would be a 5-year term, your mortgage is going to go from 248 down to 217. At which point you can refinance it and put it back up to like 350. and then you're into infinite returns, right? Like where else can you get that, right? No one's getting infinite returns in the stock market. It's not, well, unless they can leverage it somehow. I'm sure there are some people that have figured that out, but it's pretty hard to do, right? Like this is that game where it's possible for most people if they dig into it. So, any other things that you wanted to share about your experience so far in the first 14 months of being a real estate investor?
I guess one of the things that we learned kind of after, so Jeremy had said that OREC was one of the big things that kind of like pushed us. And so like for our first house that we had lived in London, we had renovated it and refinanced and then sold it. But house hacking was a big thing that actually like really helped us and was something we were excited for. So when we moved out to Mount Bridges, we bought a house that had a secondary unit on it. So it has this is the big house we call it, and then there's the little house behind, like in the backyard. And we put that one on Airbnb, and Airbnb went all over the place during COVID. So anyways, it worked out for us, and we had an Airbnb guest who requested to like rent the unit month to month. So she's currently living there, but I think house hacking allowed us to be more flexible. Like I think if we weren't house hacking, we might have wanted Jeremy to keep working and actually have an income. But having the security of an extra income, it has been really helpful for us and allowed us to keep growing and have more opportunity.
I really like that, what you said there. And I have to say how much I resonate with it, because I mean, I think Jeremy enjoys what he does. I feel like it's very like fulfilling. And if you can spend a little bit less and not need to trade your time for money, to me, that's a no-brainer. Like I strongly value quality of life, because I've done so many things in my life that I just like hated doing, like the work and jobs, like summer jobs where I used to work at a factory. Like I know what it's like to just like absolutely despise what you do. And I'm not saying it's not that I've been there in a while. I haven't, but I just love the freedom. Like to me, like I run my own company. I take on as much or as little as work as I want, but I don't spend more just because I made more. And it doesn't sound like you guys do either.
No.
Like you make more. So now you're obviously house hacking. You're still working full time. So are you guys still able to save on the personal side without touching what your rental properties generate?
Like a little bit, nothing huge, but we definitely can still save. We're not hurting. We don't actually use any of our rental money.
You leave it in the accounts.
Exactly. We haven't used any of it yet. We just keep growing because we have all of our bank accounts separate per property right now. So it's nice just watching them all grow. And if we ever need anything, there's always money there for that property.
Do you have like a threshold you're trying to get to per property, like in each account?
Yeah, we'd like to have 10 grand in each account, ideally.
Okay. And have you figured out roughly what your portfolio cash flow is? I guess on the first 7, those are the ones you own yourself. Like what do you have it at now, if you know approximate, and what do you think you can get it to just as turnover happens?
Yeah, I think Jeremy had just sent me a message a couple of days ago with it. Like he must have looked at it while I was at work or something. And I think we're at like 6,500 cash flow currently. And I don't know, like, I don't even know our cash flow, but we're just kind of keep growing.
I feel like you could just quit right now. Like you guys could find a way, house hack. You could live off of 6,500, but then you wouldn't have any way to grow it, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Because you'd be spending that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do like my job. I feel like it would be a waste for me to go to school for 5 years and not use any of my education.
No, I'm not suggesting that, because if you like what you do, rock on. Like,
yeah.
Work because you enjoy it, and then of course it pays you as a bonus.
But at the same time, it would be nice to not be stuck to your hours, right? Like where I'm like, I had to send you my schedule for the next so many weeks because it rotates. Or it'd be nice
did that a few times.
It'd be nice to just be like, look, let me know what works for you, right?
Yeah, no, I get you. I think, well, you know, time will tell, right? Like you do it, and you know, if down the road you decide that you want to make a change, you'll have that option. I think it's just so critical, which is the big reason why I started this podcast. It's just like people need to understand that it's very dangerous to only have a job, because you never know what could change. Your employer changes their direction, then employees get laid off all the time. It's like having your investment all in one stock, right? That company goes under, oops. So what you're doing is really smart. And like, I'm sure you guys are inspiring like so many people with what you're doing, because it's very rare. I didn't have anything figured out at 24. You're 24 as well? 23. I hadn't even bought my first property yet, and you're at 11 with joint ventures. So what you're doing is crazy cool, and I really appreciate you sharing it. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I know there's that golf tournament coming up. I got to follow up on this still. I still haven't asked my wife about that date, but I would like to go.
Yeah.
You were making fun of my golf score that I was posting on.
Yes, I was. Jeremy actually had a golf scholarship like out of high school, so he like really enjoys golf.
Is he a scratch golfer?
No.
No, but golf's in the 70s, I'm assuming.
No, I don't even. He's. I'm not going to speak on it. I don't normally golf with him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to ask him about it. Well, hopefully we can do that together. It would be really cool to chat further and kind of get at what you're doing, and maybe we can learn a little bit more from each other. Yeah. Any other final parting wisdom other than the house hack for our listeners and viewers before I let you go?
I don't know. I guess this is like a couple investing. Focus on communication. That's probably like maybe your weakest point, because working with your partner can be tricky when working with them in different situations. So I guess like just focus on communication if you're working in a relationship partner as having a business. Yeah,
you guys get along pretty well.
Yeah, we get along really well. Probably
the business does not conflict, does not create tensions in the relationship.
That's probably that would be our most conflict, I guess, would be business. But that's
because Jeremy mentioned that he had to convince you to go down this road. You weren't on board with this.
Not from the beginning, no.
So what changed? And first off, why weren't you? And then what changed?
I guess at first I was more just like skeptical, was more like risk averse, conservative, not really sure. And then I went to OREC with Jeremy, and we were like, I didn't want to spend the $250 to go to this real estate thing. And then I went to it, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. There's so much potential and opportunity. And then just getting in the network really like opened my eyes and got me on the same page.
Yeah. I guess like now you guys spend a lot more time with, I think you spend time with Kellen and Ange. Yep. And, just having people like that in your circles, obviously the way you think changes now. Yeah. I'm assuming that had some effect on you and what you've done.
Yeah. There's a really big like community of real estate investors in London, which is nice.
Yeah. I'm a little jealous. I don't get to go to these things because I live far away and I don't like driving that much, but I got to stop making that excuse. Yeah. All right, Taylor, where do people reach you? Where do you want to send them?
Instagram is TaylGean, TaylGean. Just try to keep my clients off my social media. Okay. But then probably our Facebook page is TJ Real Estate. That's where a lot of posts and stuff are on there about our real estate side specifically.
Okay. Yeah. And I know the stories are really cool on Instagram. So it's Instagram. TJ on Instagram, Jeremy's Instagram. He's got lots of cool stories. Okay. Yeah. So I'll include that stuff in the show notes so people can kind of follow along. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Just a friendly reminder that the kindest thing that you can do if you're enjoying this content is to share it with somebody that you think it could help. I don't have a big marketing budget for this podcast. Everything is word of mouth. So your sharing this content means everything. Thank you again. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode.